and how he had subsequently withdrawn his message. The sannyasi revealed their special insight that Prabhupada was actually God, and none of his disciples had recognized him as such, and that all of them, therefore, beginning with the sannyasi, were guilty of minimizing his position. And that was why Prabhupada had left India. He had withdrawn his mercy from his disciples. The devotees were devastated. None of them knew what to say in reply. Sannyasi, by their preaching, had projected gloom everywhere, which was proper, they said. Everyone should feel guilty and realize that they had lost the grace of their spiritual life. Good thing there's no new devotees here, huh? No use trying to cheer one another up by chanting Hare Krishna or eating feast. Everyone should accept bitter medicine. Although Prabhupada had given his disciples 3 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as Bhagavad Gita as is, the Nectar of Devotion, teaching the Lord Chaitanya and other literature, none of the devotees were well versed in them. Many devotees wondered if the philosophy the sannyasis were preaching was correct, but none of them knew enough of the scriptures to immediately refute it. The devotees turned to the new GBC men, Prabhupada's appointed leaders and guardians of ISKCON. The GBC, along with other senior devotees, began carefully searching through Prabhupada's books to ascertain exactly what he had said about the position of the spiritual master. Then Hayagriva announced that a letter had just arrived from Srila Prabhupada in Tokyo. As soon as the devotees all gathered under the pavilion roof to hear, Hayagriva read aloud, quote, "My dear sons and daughters," and then Prabhupada listed almost all the new Vrindavan residents. The devotee immediately felt a wave of hope just to hear Prabhupada say, "My dear sons and daughters," was a great relief. Hayagriva continued to read, "Please accept my blessings." Prabhupada hadn't rejected. The letter went on to say that Prabhupada was pleased with the work of the new Vrindavan devotees, and he promised to come and visit them. Soon he would send for other devotees to join me in India. He says, as he described what preaching in India would be like, the devotees became caught up in the monumentum of Srila Prabhupada's preaching spirit. They cheered, they felt blissful. Then Prabhupada specifically referred to the difficulty facing ISKCON. Quote, "Purge out of New Vrindavan the non-Vrindavan atmosphere that is entered," end quote. His letter turned the tide against Mayavadi teaching. The GBC then called a meeting of all disciples in the temple room. Reading selections from the Nectar of Devotion, they established that spiritual master, although not God, should be honoured as much as God, because he is the confidential servant of God. Several senior devotees spoke their heart's convictions, citing examples from their association with Prabhupada to prove that he had not rejected. He was too kind. The sannyasis might feel rejected because of their own guilt, someone's death, but they should not project their guilt on others. The false teachings, however, had dealt a blow from which many devotees would need time to recover. Newcomers at the festival were especially unsettled, but the cloud of gloom that had hung over New Vrindavan now lifted. Thanks for Srila Prabhupada's timely letter. Srila Prabhupada ki. So I'll put that here. 187. Read my book, Prabhupada. Okay? Oh, Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Srila Prabhupada ki. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. All glories to the Son of devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the devotees. All glories. All glories to Sri Guru, Sri Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namaskar Jaya Uttamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tujam That's the principle of everything. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, Chapter 10, entitled Maharaj Rahugana meets Jadabharat, text number 10. Hang on, 6. Get the right words on. Five.
It's 5, 10, and 5. Chapter 10.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. 5:10:5. Actually, that's better. The mystical powers of the Bhagavatam. I was looking at it. I was like, oh, it's pretty lost for a second. It's like panic thinking I've studied the wrong verse, although I've been studying it all week and checking. So we always doubt ourselves, aren't we? Doubting. Well, doubting soul is neither happiness in this world or the next. Okay, so there is no meter for this. So I will just read the Sanskrit and go on. Samsagiko doshiva munam vishaya savisham sadaga manam avitam mahati nisya Namacho Raja Rahugana Vidopi Angena Alakuta Yasata Nayo Avispata Brahmakesham Brahmakesham Yata Vidastam Ivaratya Vita Vira. We can do word for word. Resulting from the intimate association. Dosha, a fault. Eva, indeed. Unam, certainly. Ihasya, of one. Api, although. Salvation of all other. Samsarikanam, persons associated with them. Bhavitum, who become. Ati, is able. Iti, just. Nishya, ascertaining. Isanya, by hearing. Vidmanavacha, the words of the 4 servants who were very afraid of being punished. Aja, the king, Ugana, Asita, Vidaha, having served and heard from many elderly sages. In spite of, by his personal nature, which was that of a Kshatriya, Alat, by force, Vikaha, done, lively, Utita, wakened, and whose anger, Vishasta, not being distinctly visible, Brahmatejasam, his Jadabarat, spiritual effulgence, Jadavegasam, a fire covered by ashes, in Vedic ritualistic ceremony, Deva, light, Rajasa Avrika, covered by the mode of passion. He, whose mind? Aha, said, we got it. Okay, translation and purport by divine grace, Srila Prabhupada. King Rahugana could understand the speeches given by the carriers who were afraid of being punished. He could also understand that simply due to the fault of one person, the palanquin was not being carried properly. Knowing this perfectly well and hearing their appeal, he became a little angry, though he was very advanced in political science and was very experienced. His anger arose due to his inborn nature as a king. Actually, King Rahugana's mind was covered by the mode of passion, and he therefore spoke as follows to Jadabharat, whose Brahman effulgence was not clearly visible, being covered like a fire covered by ashes. Purport. The distinction between Rajagun and Sattvagun is explained in this verse. Although the king was very upright and advanced in political science and government management, he was nonetheless in the mode of passion, and therefore, due to a slight agitation, he became angry. Jadabharat, despite all kinds of injustice, endured because of his deaf and dumb display, remained silent by the strength of his spiritual advancement. Nonetheless, his Brahmateja, his Brahmani effulgence, was indistinctly visible in his person. I'll read the translation once again. King Rahugana could understand the speeches given by the carriers who were afraid of being punished. He also could understand that simply due to the fault of one person, the palanquin was not being carried properly. Knowing this perfectly well and hearing their appeal, he became a little angry, though he was very advanced in spiritual and political science and was very experienced. His anger arose due to his inborn nature as a king. Actually, King Rahugana's mind was covered by the mode of passion, and he therefore spoke as follows to Jadabharat, whose Brahmani effulgence was not clearly visible, being covered like a fire covered by ashes. Om I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and by the mercy of my spirit, he is finally forcing open my eyes, with which I is capable of knowledge. I open my eyes with sexual awakening. So thank you everyone for coming and hearing to my Bible time, and we can see even from this. King Rahugana was also hearing from elderly persons. The king was well trained. We could imagine being a king, he would have maybe gone to the Gurukul at some point, and he was heard, and so he was political science and government management. But still, because he was in the mode of passion, and the palanquin was a little bit rocky, he became angry, which is understandable. You can understand the king is expecting so many things And we could imagine in those days, you know, he would have been drinking from a golden goblet, and he would have been bowing down. And his ahimkara, his false ego would have been well puffed up. It would have been under, you know, he would have been very certain of his position that I am a king, and you know, somebody is disturbing me, therefore I have the right to speak harshly and criticize with, you could say, this fool. Now, who is this fool? What is he doing? Has he already once corrected it? I'm not sure whether it's the first time. He already spoke to him well, saying, you know, get it right. It still wasn't right. So, and we understand Gada Bharat's position. Seeing the ends, and we understand from our Brahma, from our Loka, from the highest planet down to the, you know, we're all spirit soul. You know, we can have the post as Brahma, or we can be a little insignificant ant, but still the same Jiva is there. So here we are very fortunate in the human form of life. We're actually in the best position within this entire universe. We're in the human form, and we have a Mahaprabhu has descended, and he has given us this very easy process, and Lord Nityananda is there, and they are delivering the most fallen, and here we are, the most fallen, you know, being in contact with this society for many years now, and we are so fortunate. So we are the most fortunate. Forget about Brahma, Indra, the heavenly planets. We understand from reading Prabhupada's books that this Mayavada philosophy that we hear about from Prabhupada, this Mayavada philosophy is not the correct philosophy. The philosophy coming down through the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, and then very kindly through Rupa Goswami, who we understand Rupa Mandari, and we have this very wonderful philosophy that we can be an eternal resident of Vrindavan, and we do not lose our identity. So this philosophy is very, very sweet. But going back to verse here, Jadabharat is trying not to stand on the ends, because we are seeing them also as jivas, and we should also have that compassion. But there's time, place, circumstance when it comes to ends. So I had a very interesting, so I had read this verse and I understood, you know, Jadabharat from the ends, and I had a service up the front the other day, where our camera at the front was not working properly. I had to climb up the ladder and open up the camera to see what was wrong. And as soon as they opened up the camera, thousands of ants were inside the camera, and they all came out. So I was in this predicament. Okay, what am I going to do here? How am I going to deal with all these ants? These ants are trespassing. Now the ants probably thought they were in the sky tower. They were in this camera with the whole nice room, and at night there's these lights that came on in the camera. So these ants were thinking this is a good place to revive. So they had laid their nests in there. You know, and they were thinking, this is good, it's warm, it's dry, you know, and we can understand the super soul has guided them there. So here were all these ants inside this camera. And I had the predicament of what to do. So initially I was thinking, okay, I'll give you a chance, shook the, you know, thing, earthquake, guys, earthquake, evacuate. And I went down and I gave them like 10 minutes to sort themselves out and evacuate. Because you know, you've got to be a little bit patient. I could have immediately got out there and sprayed them. But I thought I'll give them a bit of time. I'll let the super soul within the heart of the ant give those ones that are meant to live the chance to evacuate, and those that are meant to die, they're going to stop. So I gave the opportunity, I passed it on to Krishna, saying, "Come, Krishna, I don't want to do this, but I have to perform my duty, just like a junior on the battlefield, staying and fighting with the sword." So I was given the duty to fix the camera. These ants were in the way, and I gave them 10 minutes evacuation notice. You could say I had to give them 90 days, but I didn't to evict these guys. These guys had to get out. And so that was my predicament. So I had to do what I had to do. And I rang up the devotee that instructed me to fix the camera. I said, "You please take the camera for this service." So I was passing on. But this is what we do in devotional service. And we understand that devotees, we are somewhat above that, but we shouldn't think that we are above that. You know, we have to do the good and right thing. So Jadabara, I was dodging the ants, and here I was exterminating the ants. But still we were doing similar things, you know, so we could see it in different lights, you know. So I thought I'd just share that with you. I've committed a great offence to those that love the ants, but I had to get the camera going again. And hopefully it looks like they've moved in again, because I had it this morning and there's also a problem, so they've come back again. So I have to go again and issue them with an eviction notice and say, you know, you're being evicted from this Sky Tower, and please leave. And this is a predicament we have in this situation. We have to see what our service is and do our service accordingly. You know, someone given this service, you know, others have. So this is our situation, and we can consult with other devotees. You know, what do I do in this situation? How do I conduct myself? Now, the king was influenced by the mode of passion. And we can understand as soon as we take our birth, we are under the modes of material nature. And we can all experience, you know, we have come from wherever we have come in our past lives, and here we are in these bodies, human bodies, male, female, and under the mode of passion, well, goodness, passion, ignorance. So some have taken very pious births, you know, Indian families and devotee families, and what have you like that. So that is more the mode of goodness. Some of us were not so, well, I won't say fortunate. We are very fortunate, but we, you know, our births are slightly different, so we are more under the mode of passion and ignorance. But we have to understand that these modes are always going to be there, but that does not justify us speaking harshly, because we understand from nectar of instruction, observation, and we have to control our tongue. Tongue, belly, we have to control these things. This is the first thing that is mentioned by Rupa Goswami, and you could say it is enough in all circumstances. That's very important. So we have to control our tongue and not speak harshly. So I got pulled up on this the other day, speaking wrongly to another bit. I was not speaking harshly, but I said a few things, and she, being more sensitive, the mothers have feeling. So I had to acknowledge the feelings of the mother I was spoken to. No, I could have said, let's not talk about feelings, let's just talk about facts. You know, because that's where the men come from. We just want to know the facts. We don't want to know about the feelings. The feelings are not the facts. I used to say this to my wife. I stopped saying it after she corrected me that, you know, feelings are real. But initially, I was like, let's just deal with the facts. Put your feelings inside the facts. Not what you have to very submissively hear the feelings of the wife, because they are real. They are feelings, although they may not be facts, they're still feeling. So we have to acknowledge that. So I have to do this. We have to acknowledge that what I said, she had misinterpreted what I said, because I was in the mode of passion. And I said to her, look, I'm a trade person. I'm running around doing so many things, saying so many things, and I have to please forgive me. I'm just mudha in the meditation. Please understand my background and how I've come through, and this is my condition. And so she was very understanding, very grateful for my listen to what she had to say. So this is how we deal with devotees. We've got to have this fanatical situation, but we also have to understand that, you know, we are all coming from different backgrounds. And especially these trade type people, those speak very harshly. I was saying to her, you've got a very watered down version of my tongue. I said, when I used to work out in the trade field, you would be horrified what would be saying. Just to get the message across to other traders. You know, communication, you've got to come to their level of communication like that. And but still we conduct ourselves properly, but our language is slightly different. You know, there is the Hindi language, there is the Sanskrit language, and then there is the trading language, which there are certain words that come up quite frequently that we cannot mention. But these words are regularly used when we encounter obstacles or mishaps or whatever. And, you know, we instruct our disciples, our apprentices, they also get the source with these very sweet words. So this is the mode of passion, and we have to elevate it. We have to rise above these modes, Christian says. So as we advance in spiritual life, we have to choose our words wisely, speak nicely, speak softly, gently, because this is what we are doing. We are reawakening our real nature, which is actually full of love. A real nature is, dark, dead, and another. So we are full of bliss, actually. There are no problems. We are just identifying with the problems and identifying with the problems, but when we rise up above, all there is eternality, pure knowledge, and love. So this is really what we should be swimming in. It's not easy to be swimming in that, but this is what we're aspiring for. And we're aspiring for it through service to the deities and all the devotees. Now we're going to hear in the next chapter how King Rahugana, he recognizes Jadabharat's position. And because King Rahugana was trained properly as a king in the political and the spiritual sciences, he realized this person is actually a great soul. And we hear about how King Rahugana's Brahmakaja is covered. So he had a spiritual effulgence, but it says it was covered like the ashes in a young man. So it wasn't overly prominent, and Jadabharat was also keeping that very covered. He just wanted to get out. He didn't want to have to interact with them within the material world. And we all understand the story, how he was, Goddess Kali was there. And he was tolerating. She came to the rescue. Here again, he was acting in a way to hide his real identity. But then he is actually now being repay. He's giving mercy to the king. He's actually being merciful to the king by giving so much instruction, which we will hear in the next chapter. And he is telling the king, knowledge and detachment from fruitive activity, which is what we are all given in the Bhagavad Gita. We are encouraged in the Bhagavad Gita to give up this fruitive activity. But it's a gradual thing. I can't emphasize it enough that as a grihastha, you need to be fruitive. You need to work and support the family and provide. You need to do like that. But then in the Vana and sannyas ashrams, you can give up this fruitive activity and direct more of your energy to doing service to the Lord. And by doing that, by giving up the fruitive aspect of trying to accumulate money to survive, which is so much so in this world of Kali Yuga, so much tax is there, and the government is spending money and asking for more money. It's a very much a struggle today in society. So this is what we have to do with greenhouses. We have to struggle and be prudent. But then as we get older in age and our children grow up, we can become less prudent and more devotional in our activities. Well, we will do anything for Krishna and we won't give him the bill. We'll say, Krishna, I'm doing this for you. I'm not meeting. And then Krishna reciprocates for that. This is the wonderful thing about our philosophy, is that we can, whatever service we do, Krishna is very grateful for that service. We should understand also that he is the sweet soul in the heart, and he is witnessing our activities. And step by step, gradually, we are becoming closer to Krishna by giving up this fruitive mentality and having a more devotional mentality. Krishna becomes very pleased with that. We are not taking from Krishna, we are wanting to give to Krishna. Now, here that applies here in the temple situation, but anywhere we can do this service through japa, through engaging our karma. We may not reside here, we may live far away, we may live up anywhere, in fact, but we can approach Krishna at any moment through our mind, understanding Bhagavad Gita, engage your mind always thinking of me, and engage your tongue and worshiping me, so we can do this japa, which is also a very powerful and purifying process. So we shouldn't feel discouraged if we're not living here doing direct service to the deity. We consider ourselves very fortunate to do direct service to the deity. Not that we are qualified, we are simply recipients of the mercy that is coming down through this time for us. Somehow or other we have been chosen to take certain positions and do certain service. And as long as we maintain the mood of humility and we're not committing offences, Vaishnava Aparad will give us, the Vaishnava Aparad will contaminate our consciousness. It'll enter our consciousness and we will find a reason to leave. We'll start looking, if we have the critical mentality, then we will see so many faults. We can look, but if we, and then through seeing that, having that critical mentality, then we will lose the opportunity to serve the deity. So it's a very subtle and you could say it's like the drop of water on the leaves of the lotus. We have to be very careful how we conduct ourselves, and we have to have that mood like myself. Speaking to this mother the other day, she did not appreciate what I said, but I could have taken it completely differently and been very proud and just probably, don't be so sensitive. It wouldn't have gone down well, and Krishna wouldn't have appreciated it, and then Krishna would have ended my mentality and made me see more faults, and then I would have become critical, and before you know, who was that Madhiumangal? Where have you gone? And I would have done the whole bloop thing. They used to say that a lot. Bloop. It got going back into the ocean. So we have to be very careful. We really value what we have, value the position we have, and protect it through your humility. Protect your position through your humility. So we can speak very nicely through the example of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's saying this Trinadati, and we can be saying Trinadati all the time, humble bladed brown. And, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, followers or women. Like that's another thing that we have to really embrace. We don't want anything. We want to shed all the attachment. And just, at the end, hopefully just have our cloth, our begging bowl, our water pot, and sit under a tree in Vrindavan. The six Goswamis have done that. That's the mood. Not that we can imitate that, but we have that mood of simplicity, so that there are no more distractions, and we can fully absorb our mind in the pastimes of, the Govardhan and the lover of the gopis. Gopi Jana Vallabha. This is, the lover of the gopis and the great Lord Govardhan. So we're sitting here in front of that great Lord Govardhan, and he's got the most beautiful gopi is there, Radharani is there, and we have the opportunity to serve it. So you could say we are all sitting here already liberated, just by coming into this temple room, bowing down to the deity, having darsana, singing the holy name. We are already in a liberated. It's only offences that we have to watch out. This is our stumbling block, would be our offences. So we have to watch out for the offences, just like the ants. Be very wary of the ants, or in other words, be very wary of our offences, so that we can continue to serve right up to the time of death. And then at the end of life, because of Prabhupada's mercy and the mercy of the spiritual master, they will, we may only be 50%, 50%, 70%, 80% purified. But Prabhupada says that he will carry the rest and help deliver us. So with strong faith in this, this is what we need. We need the strong product. But this is actually tattva. This is the truth. This is what is being presented in the Bhagavatam. And we give up our fruitive activities. We render service to Krishna. We render service to the devotees. We absorb ourselves in the holy name and in the pastimes in the land of Vrindavan, so that our mind is focused on that. And then whatever state of being you remember at the time of death, may it be the land of Vrindavan, may it be the forests of Vrindavan, then that will be our destiny. So this is our whole sign. We don't want to take her with you. We don't want, this is a very wonderful example of Jalabharat, how he was attached to the deer. And it's very easy to become attached to the deer. I have, interact with Madhumangal Dasa I SB in the kitchen, and any bad rice that sometimes weasels or whatever get into the rice and it becomes contaminated, and he's got to throw the rice out. So I tell him, every time you have a accumulation of rice, give it to me. So then what I do is I soak the rice in the bucket, and then I feed it to the birds. So all these birds gather every morning. And I am thinking I am providing this like similar to Jalabharat. I'm becoming very attached to all these birds. They're all very nice, and I'm there feeding all these birds. And I'm thinking that it is me. But again, I have to remind myself that it is not. But again, I can become very, I am their provider. Like this. So, but it is a nice service to feed the residents of well, I consider that's what I'm doing. I'm feeding so many birds. So that in my next life, if I come back and take birth as a bird, if I'm fortunate enough, we might be a devotee to the big meat in life as well. So I'm being a little bit plain ahead. I may not be perfect. I may have to come to person as well. And who knows, I may come take a bird as a hand and go into this sky tower called the camera. And then one day someone will open it up and I'll be in there and they'll just train me. And I'll die there. So we don't know what Krishna has in store for us. But we just have to have that mood of service. As long as we have a mood of service, we'll be fine. And that mood of giving, not taking. And that mood of humility, not seeing critically, but seeing in a very honest way, actually. If we stand in front of the mirror and we're very honest with ourselves, oh my God, that is a scary thing. I will not reveal what's going on in my heart, but I am just saying I am a tipping of the movement. No qualification whatsoever. Just a recipient of the mercy. And I am taking this process very seriously because there was I saw it the other day it was coming from this time Vrindavan. Now I asked him, what made you come into the And most people say, oh, I've got a book, or whatever it is. But what I wrote was, I had a close encounter with hell. That is what made me become a devotee. I became very close encounter, and then I was given a second opportunity. This is what made me become a devotee, and I always am remembering this. I had a very clear encounter with the subtle body and how the subtle body leaves the body and it's dragged. We hear about the burning road of hell. So I had a very close encounter with that, and I just prayed at that time, and I was back in my body again. So I had always but remember that, very real. This is very real. It's coming very soon. And when that moment comes, I want to be able to have no enemies. Devotee has no enemies, isn't it? There's a list, Krishna lists in the Bhagavad Gita, the qualities of the devotee, and one of those qualities of Jesus. So I don't want any enemies at the time of death. I want to be able to just remember that I try to serve everybody nicely, although I'm not qualified, and in this way, hopefully Krishna will be pleased. And then we can go back to body. Or we'll take our last birth. Apparently we take one more birth, where Krishna's pastimes are. And then that's it, Swaha. Okay, I'll leave it there. I'll just read the bit from the phone. King Rahugana could understand the speeches given by the carriers who were afraid of being punished. He could also understand that simply due to the fault of one person, the pelican was not being carried properly. Knowing this perfectly well and hearing their appeal, he became a little angry. Although he is very advanced in political science and was very experienced, his anger arose due to his inborn nature. Actually, King Rahugana's mind was covered by the mode of passion, and he therefore spoke as followed Jalabharat, whose Brahmani faultings was not clearly visible, being covered like a fire covered by ashes. Any questions or comments?
So I was thinking, if you're be able to recognize the Bhagavad really so. It means that we knew it and really for it. But you cannot distinguish someone or identify if you have knowledge. What they say here, what is the that means fear will being able to identify that this person is not just, applying to
Through their words, you're able to see who is who and what is what, not by the dress, but what comes out of your mouth. That's how we ascertain who is who and what is what. I can dress me very nicely, and but what is coming out of my mouth, we can judge what is coming out of my mouth. Actually, yesterday's class, we were saying that when we first see somebody for the first time, we were saying like in the first 7 seconds, by seeing them, naturally we make calculations of this person is good and this and this and that. Just by seeing them, we do this. It's a natural thing that we judge somebody by how they appear. So the king has also done this, but then when he hears what Jadabarat says, he realizes, oh my God, this is a very elevated person. And so therefore we will hear what the story goes on. So by the words that a person greatness in the world, or a fool is revealed also by the words. And we can judge another person, obviously. I had another person not long ago become very angry with me. They were spitting fire. So I had to conduct myself accordingly. I could have got out my caddy, not that I had a caddy, but I could have jumped into his situation. But I'm thinking, no, that is you are choosing to conduct yourself like that. I am not going to choose to conduct myself like that. I am going to put a straw blade of grass between my feet and I'll just take the penalty path instead of the angry part. Because when we're angry, we are the ones that are carrying the anger. We are the ones that have got it boiling inside us. And we are the ones, not the other person that's carrying it, is we're thinking. So we do ourselves a favor by not becoming angry. Forgiveness. Forgive them. Move on. And this is our philosophy. And it's so much easier on ourselves. We've got to be kind to ourselves. I still want to be people that be kind to yourself. Offer yourself a flower. We have to be kind to ourselves and not degrade ourselves by other people's interpretation of who we are. And that goes right back to our older people interpreting out, like my brother used to, my brother he was older than me, a bit of a bully, you could say. So I was always in that more meek and humble position. So that, it's not that I should stay in that position because of his perception and the way he treated me. We should stand up for ourselves and be strong and positive who we are, but not overly proud, but confident and grateful. Like that, so how we conduct ourselves, like gentlemen, we should really, the Prabhupada's example was like that, so we should try and imbibe that gentlemanly mood. Although, like for me, I'm like, the motivation will come along and I will flip into statesman mentality and it will sound not so good. So I, beg forgiveness for that again and again. And, again, the modes are there, but we have to rise above the modes. That's what Christian is saying in the Gita. Rise above the modes, because you are not the modes. Although they are there boiling inside us, still we can rise above them. Through practice and detachment, we can do like that. So we just got to practice. For 40 years we've got to practice, and still we are affected by these things. But that is all right. That is all right. The modes are not going to go away. They're always going to be there. But we just understand that we are not the modes. We are not the body, the ahankara. Deep inside, we are structured and under, and a very beautiful structured and under. Well, isn't it? So effulgent and wonderful if we fully understand who we are, the message we've got, the message to remember Vrindavan, remember the pastimes, the great ritual of Govardhan, and the lover of the gopis. We absorb ourselves in this mentality, and we become very brittle very quickly. But it's just how to maintain it. It's good practice. We can maintain that mood of hoping each other well and the great war. That how is it possible that you could say we've already become liberated before we just got bodies? You know, we are already living. You know, we can be living in the spiritual realm through our mind and our remembrance of the past. We can be there. You know, this is what Samadhi and trance. Not that we can imitate it, but we can get a glimpse of these things and relish that this is actually reality. You know, our thoughts will carry us to the land of Vrindavan by becoming absorbed in the land of Vrindavan, rolling the dust and drinking the water, bathing in Radhakund, and all these wonderful opportunities that we have. They've had a big impact on our consciousness, and washed away so many lifetimes of sinful activity. We've been washed and cleansed by the mercy of, you know, Radhakund, Jamakund, you know, all that whole land of Vrindavan. So this is a replica here. That new Vaishnava is a replica right here. So if we have that right mentality, we can relish that we are in Radharani's palace, so to speak. We have that vision. Why not? Not that we are being sahaja, we are just relishing the opportunity and the reality that we have Radha Spirit right here for us. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Jai, Srila Prabhupada too. Jai. Chandra, clean of the toilets to go.